Unfortunately, Canada Post dropped the ball on that one, and it was supposed to be an expedited parcel, and it sat in Toronto for almost 4 days. Hello and welcome to M Cubed. I am Brian, the Motley Mix Merchant. This is the final episode of 2019. Where has this year gone? I hope everybody had a very Merry Christmas season or holiday season, whatever you were celebrating, and is ready to hit the ground running in 2020. I finished off the year fairly strongly. Had a number of sales in the week leading up to Christmas. Almost nothing since Christmas Eve day, actually. I haven't had any sales at all, so I'm not too worried about it because I sort of have let the listing and everything go by the wayside because I'm just not too busy with other stuff right now. So it's time, though, to ramp it up and get ready for 2020. But first, going to look back a little bit on 2019. Started up in March doing the eBay reselling, picking up my items at thrift stores for resale. Now I am mostly doing auctions, and that's working out very well for me. So started off, I think it was late in March, I really started listing in earnest. I didn't list anything at all before that. So for the 9 months that I was doing this on a part-time basis, eBay tells me that I sold 202 items overall, split up about 155 to the US and 47 in here into Canada. I am a Canadian, and so a lot of the stuff has stayed in this country. Gross sales total just over $4,000 according to eBay. I don't know where all the money went. My net profit is probably about $50. No, I'm just kidding. More likely after shipping costs and fees and all that kind of stuff, probably netted just over $1,200 to $1,500. 2020, I will be keeping much closer track of everything. I really was only doing it part-time and as a hobby for 2019, but next year I'm really hoping to grow the business, and so it is going to be a business, and I have to be ready to file the taxes and the expenses and the income and all that kind of stuff. So that's where things are heading next year. But for this year, not bad. 202 sales in 9 months, so that's 22 sales or so per month. That's all right. I was trying to get 30 per month, but for 22 to start off, my first 9 months doing this on a regular basis, I'm pretty happy. And it's been a lot of fun, and that's why I'm doing this too. It's a lot of fun, the researching and the finding out about the items and finding the items and seeing things at auctions and picking them up and finding out you got a great deal on a really great item. That's the fun for me right now, and has been for the entire year. And I hope it continues that way and doesn't just turn into another business that I really haven't got my heart into, because right now, really liking doing this stuff. And glad to be sharing it with you here on YouTube, showing you my successes and my failures, and hoping we both learn some things along the way. So, quickly going to go through some of the things that did sell before Christmas, and then talk a little bit about what to expect from this channel and from my eBay store in the year ahead. But first, let's go through what's sold on eBay since the last time I spoke with you. Starting off with this statue that I showed you in a previous video by Boris Kramer, made of steel. It's called Good Company. Really neat work that this artist does. He's out of Canada, but his items are sold worldwide. And this one went, and if you live in the eastern north part of North America and you're figuring out your shipping costs, you always put, what's the zip code you always put in when you're trying to figure out your furthest shipping? I bet you most of you put in 90210 from the show, right? Well, I actually sold something that was shipped to 90210. And I looked up the buyer, nobody famous, a lawyer, but he took that Boris Kramer statue for $43 with a little bit towards the shipping, and got it just in time for Christmas. Up next, a Universal Pottery gravy boat and platter. I've had those in the store for quite a while, probably 4 months now. Kept dropping the price, and they sat there for a while. So they finally sold $11 plus $10 towards the shipping. Pretty light, didn't cost me much to ship, so a couple bucks profit. But yeah, something else going off the shelf. Tiny little Wedgwood trinket box, kidney-shaped box that I've had for a little while. I wasn't really sure about this one because the lid was a sort of different blue shade than the body of it was, but it fit, and it was the same shape and everything. So Somebody bought it $20 with free shipping, cost me $10 to ship it. So yeah, $5 profit at least, maybe 6 on the Wedgwood trinket box. This next one is a pair of things. Somebody bought 2 items from me at the same time. It was a Canadian that purchased these, and they were both having to do with the Great Wars. First was this service at the front pin. This was given to members of the Canadian forces who served at the front in World War I. There's a number of them out there. They're numbered, although this one seemed to have some scratching trying to rub out the numbers, but somebody bought it still. And at the same time, they bought this book. It's called Up Front. It is a famous comic strip writer from the States who wrote a book about it, about the wars. That's what his comics were about, the war effort. Sold them together for $28 with $13 towards the shipping. So nice little item. And the person that bought it lives in a town which is the home of a Canadian Forces base. So I was wondering, I wonder if that person is involved with the Canadian Armed Forces, because both of those items went to somebody in a town where there is a Canadian Forces base. So I thought that was pretty cool. Up next, just showed you this a couple of videos ago. It is a made in occupied Japan figurine, the sitting down mandolin playing woman. She sold for $12 on a best offer with $6 towards the shipping. And that was a quick turnaround, less than a month, absolutely less than a month, maybe even 2 weeks before that one went from being listed to being sold. So that was a quick sale on the occupied in Japan figurine. This next one's pretty cool. I used to have one of these when I was a kid. These are piggy banks, Canadian money stack piggy banks. They are ceramic, but the front and the back sides are painted to make it look like the front and back of a Canadian $5 and $10 bill. So it looks like a stack of money, but it's a piggy bank ceramic. Sold both of them for full asking price, $20 with $13 towards the shipping because it was going to a Canadian buyer, so they paid full shipping on that. And again, that was a pretty quick one. I think that was only a month and a half in the store, if not less. And it was a good sale. Good profit on that one. Those things cost me maybe 50 cents each in a box lot from the box lot sale about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. So yeah, that was a good one. And last but not least, my big Christmas Eve sale. Somebody on Christmas Eve decided to buy this wicker and seashell coaster set. There were 6 of them altogether, and I've had those for a while. They've been sitting there for 5 months or so, 4 months probably, if not 5. They sold for $10 with $4 in shipping. I just put them in a padded envelope with some cardboard on either side and shipped them off first class to, again, California, where a lot of my stuff is going these days. And yeah, that was my big Christmas Eve sale. I'm the last sale that I've made so far in 2019. I haven't sold anything else since Christmas Eve Day. It's now New Year's Eve Day, and I'm not worried about it. I don't care really. I'm happy to have a week break here before I get back into things full bore for 2020. So, as it is the end of the year and people tend to set goals for 2020, I have set a few goals for myself and for my channel and for my eBay store. The first thing I'm going to do mainly on this YouTube channel is more videos. I know I've been slacking off a little bit in the last month and a half with family commitments and illness and whatever else going on, but definitely committing to doing more videos. Going to be trying to do 3 videos every 2 weeks, probably a Monday, Thursday, Wednesday kind of thing, and do some more how-to videos showing how I pack things and showing how I store things. I know I've said a couple times I'm going to show my storage area, which, by the way, looks a lot better now because one of my stepdaughters gave me a nice big storage shelving unit for Christmas as requested. So now my laundry room isn't such a mess, and the storage area is much more organized, and I will not feel so bad in showing you the video of it. So yeah, I'll be doing that kind of video, as well as the what sold and what I picked up and that kind of thing. So that's the goal for this channel for the coming year, and it's going to start off next week. I'm going to be definitely doing some more videos. I'll tell you about those in a sec too. Now, as far as the eBay store and the eBay reselling goes, one of my big goals is going to be increasing my profit margin, and that is going to be by trying to go for larger ticket items. I've talked about this before. I'm going to start trying to get away from the buy something for $2 to $5 and sell it for $20. I'm going to start trying to buy something for $5 to $10 and sell it for $50. And we'll see how that goes. So far, so good in my sourcing that I've been doing in the last 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so. And that's going to be the main goal, trying to increase my return on investment. And that's going to be by, as well as the increase in the size of my items, it's going to be an increase in the shipping costs. I'm going to make really darn sure that I am charging enough for shipping on all my items, and that because I'm selling so much to California, everything is going to be priced as if it's going to California. And if it doesn't go quite that far, well, then it's going to be a little less shipping cost and more going towards the materials when it comes to the shipping for items. I'm also going to build up the store numbers. I plan, right now I have 260-ish items in the store. I'm hoping to get up to, I'm going to say 300 by the end of January. And then the goal is to list 3 to 5 items per day. So if you're listing 3 to 5 items per day, say it averages out to 4, that's a good 120 items being listed per month. And minus sales, your store is going to grow. My store is hopefully going to grow by about 90 items per month. The goal is to reach 500 items. If I can get up above 500 items in the next 3 months or so, I feel like that's when I'm really going to start seeing the regular sales, 1 to 2 sales a day. And then we can really start talking about trying to make this a business. And that is the goal, to eventually make this a business. And I am close to retirement at my real job. Not super close, 5 years, 6 years, depending on how things go. But I'd love to retire from there earlier if I was able to turn this into a full-time hobby, which is not a hobby, it's a business. So we'll see. That's, we'll take it one step at a time, set goals, incremental goals, and try and meet them as we go along. And we'll see what happens. But that's the goal. Increase the ROI, increase the number of sales, and keep learning. I'm just going to make sure I keep on trying to learn, whether it's from the YouTubers like the Crazy Lamp Lady or Rally Roots or Primetime Treasure Hunters or whoever. Just keep following the Facebook groups. Like this great group that the Crazy Lamp Lady Jocelyn started, that a lot of you come here from. That's where you're going to learn a lot of things, and do my own research. I've been researching online about items. I research a lot when I'm doing my sourcing, especially for the online auctions that I do now, because you see the pictures and you see a description of the item, and that gives me a chance to actually look things up and learn about things and see what they are and see if they're worth anything. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep on learning, keep on growing, and just try some new things as well. See if there's some other avenue that I can head into that interests me. That's the main thing for me as well. I want to be interested in this. I don't want to be doing something just to do it because it's going to make a couple extra bucks. If I don't like it and I'm not interested in it, why bother? And so that's part of the whole thing as well. And so far so good in keeping me interested, because I'm having a lot of fun with finding things and sourcing things and finding out what they're all about. Now, speaking of sourcing things, okay, back up a little bit, Brian. First off, I talked about doing more videos. The next video you're going to see from me on this channel is an auction haul. The day after I made the last video, a week and a half ago or so, I went to an auction at a new auction house here in the same city that I live in, that I'd never been to before. New to me anyhow. It's been there for years, but it was new to me. And I didn't really get auction fever. I didn't lose my mind because I kept my dollar spend in check. But what happened was this auction house does their picker auctions the same way that my regular auction house did just the first one that I went to. They bring out the table. They have a number of items, 20 plus items on every table. And then what they do is they get people to say, okay, I want to bid on this one, or I want to bid on this item, or I want to bid on that item. And so maybe only 4 or 5 of the items on each table are actually of interest to people. So then after those 4 or 5 items are auctioned off, they sell the entire table at once. And not a lot of people were buying the kind of things that I buy. And that's what I'm finding around this area, is that the things that I sell, It's not the same kind of things that a lot of the other people around here sell. So I got a lot of full tables for $5 or $10. And I came home with a carload. And I got to tell you this story. My car was loaded. I'm leaving the auction. I'm at the counter paying for my purchases. And the auctioneer, they try to sell off one table and nobody buys it. So they move it back with 2 other tables. So now there's 3 tables sitting on the wall that haven't been sold. The auctioneer actually turns right to me at the counter and says, "Table man, the guy who's been helping me out so much and taking all the tables, I'll give you all 3 of these tables for $5 if you want them." I said, "Really? $5?" Now I knew there were a couple of half-decent items on the one table, but I wasn't going to buy the whole table just for those couple of items. But now he's got 3 tables of stuff there. I've got a full car. I can't put anything else in my car at the time, and I have to go home and start getting ready for my regular job for that night. So I said, "I'll take them if I can come and get them tomorrow." So sure enough, he agreed. I got all 3 tables for $5. I did go back the next day and not quite filled the car up again. Yeah, that was, I got a lot of stuff. So my next video is going to be a number of the items from that auction haul to start off 2020 as I start really going through it and listing things and getting going with my buildup of the eBay store in the coming year. So that's just a quick story about the auction that I went to. So now I did do an online auction this past week. Excuse me for 1 second. Again, itchy nose going to kiss a fool. I did an online auction. I've had pretty good success so far with the online auctions. And this one was a little outside of my area, about a 25 to 30 minute drive to go pick up the items that I bid upon. But it was interesting. I'm doing my research on any of the auctions that are within that 30-mile radius or so. So there was this auction, and I'm going through, and the one listing, one of the lots, it was just 3 pictures, 3 old actors' pictures, and the description, all it said was unknown actors, 2 framed pictures, 1 loose picture, 1 autographed. That's all it said. So I have on my computer screen here a zoom feature. I can touch the screen and zoom. It's a smart screen. Well, I zoomed in on the picture and I was able to see the names on a couple of these pictures from the auction. And I'm glad I did, because I researched them, and one of them struck me as being semi-familiar, but the other 2 didn't. But the 2 that I didn't know turned out to be the better of the items. It ended up being 4 pictures, because when I got there to pick them up the other day, he said he didn't have time to take a picture of the 4th item, and he just threw it in. Nice freebie on top of my, ready for this? $6. No, $3. $6 was another auction that I dropped out of. $3 for these pictures that I'm about to show you. They are very old pictures of actors. And I mean old as in 1901 to 1940 is the newest one. The newest one is 1940. The framed ones are all from 1901 to 1905. I'm going to show this one first, but it's one of the best ones. This is William Gillette. If you don't recognize the name, William Gillette, I didn't recognize the name either, but I looked it up. This is the first ever Sherlock Holmes. He played Sherlock Holmes on stage and on radio, and eventually, I think in one film from the 1900s to the 1920s. He was a playwright. He eventually he became super famous for playing Sherlock Holmes, and eventually co-wrote plays with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the author of the Sherlock Holmes stuff. He ended up being a contemporary of Doyle and world famous, became very rich because of it. There's now a Gillette Castle, which was his old mansion in, I think, Connecticut. I want to say in Connecticut or Massachusetts, something like that, somewhere on the East Coast, I believe. But yeah, super, super famous. This picture alone should go in the $30 to $50 US range. It is framed, professionally framed by a framing shop in Concord, Massachusetts. So that is picture number 1. Excuse me, I'm going to be dropping these, I think, to get them out of the way. All right. This one is picture number 2. E.H. Southern, S-O-T-H-E-R-N. Now, didn't recognize this at all. Don't know who this guy is at all because I'm not big up on acting back in the early 1900s. But this gentleman, one of the very famous from the early 1900s, one of the most famous Shakespearean actors in North America and the world, actually. He performed in London, performed all over North America with his partner who later became his wife after he left his first wife for her. Became very, very famous for playing Shakespearean roles. And yeah, this is again 1901, I think that says on the corner there. And again, professionally framed by the same frame shop. So all of these, I'm guessing, were done at the same time. And yeah, he is probably going to be, that's not going to be quite as much. That's going to be maybe a $10 to $20 picture. So that's another good pickup on that one. This lady is Maud Adams. Now, I knew it rang a bell to me when I saw the name, but it's because I was thinking of the Maud Adams that was the actress in the 70s and 80s. She was in Tattoo and 007 and Playboy and that kind of thing. So that's why I thought, that's why the name rang a bell. But this is Maud Adams, the original actress from the 1910s to 1920s, who was mostly famous for the fact that she was one of the first women to play Peter Pan on Broadway. Very, very cool. This is a picture of her at a very young age. And again, 1901 is the date on the picture. Framed by the same frame shop in Massachusetts. So yeah, another great old actress. She was she didn't do any films at all. She didn't make the conversion from stage to film at all. So very interesting that the person had a picture of her from her Broadway days as Peter Pan, among other title characters as well. She was very famous. And the last one is probably the best one. It's in a frame right now. I just threw this in a frame because it was starting to curl a little bit. This gentleman's name is Andrei Egilevsky. Not really a household name, not in my circles anyhow, but that's a picture there. And as you can see, it is autographed. It says, "Best wishes from Andrei Egilevsky, Cincinnati, 1944. Definitely a signature because I've seen copies of his signature online, and it absolutely matches completely his authenticated signature. Andrei Egilevsky was the first famous Russian ballet dancer to make it in North America. He performed quite a lot in New York, eventually moving into film. He was one of the co-stars of Charlie Chaplin in Chaplin's last movie. And he eventually went on to become a cohort and instructor and, yeah, mostly of an instructor and choreographer, that's the word I was looking for Mikhail Baryshnikov, when Baryshnikov was first starting out. He lived until 1977 or something like that, so he lived a ripe old age, but yeah, he stayed very involved in the dance world. But yeah, Andrei Egilevsky, fairly well known in those circles as one of the very first famous Russian dancers, ballet dancers, to make it in North America. And it's autographed and dated in the 1940s. And that is a very good picture of him. A lot of the pictures you see of him online are screenshots from a movie or side profiles that don't look very good. That's a great headshot and a great signature and dating. I'm thinking that's going to be another $40 to $50 picture online. So all told, for my $3.60 taxes included purchase, I'm hoping to return about $150 for the 4 actors' pictures of unknown actors. If he had put Maxwell Gillette in the name of the listing on the maxsold.com listing for the online auction, I would not have got that for less than $20 for this lot. I guarantee it. But because there was no name at all, I got it for $3. I started at $1. Somebody bid $2. I had automatic setting for a little higher price, and so when my bid went to $3, the other person just dropped out, didn't want to pay more than $3 for the 3 pictures in the lot, and I got them all for $3 and change. So I'm very, very happy with that online purchase, and that's what I'm going to try to do in the coming year. Try and snatch a few low price, high return items on online auctions, like the Santa Claus that I got a few weeks ago. It eventually made it to the buyer, by the way. If you follow the channel and you remember my last video, I talked about the Chris's Claus, Santa Claus doll that I sent out. Unfortunately, Canada Post dropped the ball on that one, and it was supposed to be an expedited parcel, and it sat in Toronto for almost 4 days, and it just barely reached the buyer 2 days before Christmas. It should have been there 5 days before that. I was not happy. Sent a letter off to Canada Post's customer service line and just let them know I was not pleased. But yeah, it did make it finally in time to the buyer, and unfortunately it got me a neutral feedback on eBay, which doesn't hurt your numbers because the feedback is only based on positive versus negatives. Neutral doesn't do anything to your percentage. I'm still at 100%, but I wasn't happy the fact that Canada Post cost me a positive review. So, and yeah, I digress. It got there, and hopefully the buyer is very happy with the purchase of that $350 Santa doll. But anyhow, one last thing to show you. I know this one's going on a while, but lots of things going on. One last thing to show you. Real quick purchase part of the auction that I got that I'm going to show you in the next video. And this is her. You saw her in the thumbnail. Isn't she pretty? The funny thing is, this was part of an earlier table. I had no interest in this. There's a really bad wig that came with this too. I had no interest in this really at all. I was just going to throw it out. But the 3 tables that I told you about that he sold me as I was checking out, one entire table of those 3 was covered in ladies' hats. Really, really nice wide brim hats, pillbox hats, black hats that ladies would wear to funerals and other colored ones for fancy dress affairs and that kind of thing. Really, really nice. So if you figure it out, I got that whole table for about $3.50 Canadian, and there's a good 30 to 40 hats that I'm going to be listing and selling on the eBay store. Well, I just happen to have a mannequin head now, but I mean, that's ugly. That's really ugly. Somebody has had their child draw all over this mannequin. But I've gone to the dollar store and I've purchased 2 containers of cream colored paint, acrylic paint, because acrylic won't melt the styrofoam. And then I also have 2 containers of flesh colored paint. So I'm going to use the cream colored. There was no primer available at my dollar store. So I'm going to use the cream colored paint as a primer. Then I'm going to put the flesh colored paint on top. Draw a couple of eyelashes in, maybe the lips, we'll see. See how artistic I'm feeling after I do all that. And I have myself a nice little mannequin head for selling all of my hats. And actually, I'm going to be starting this painting project right after I'm done this video. So anyhow, I just thought I'd show you that. It's funny how it worked out. It was ready to go in the garbage until I ended up with a table full of hats about half an hour later. So, but there's the first thing you see from the auction haul from a couple weeks ago. Not the last, trust me. There's lots to come. All right, that's enough silliness for today. I'm still in a great mood. It's been a great year, and I thank you very much if you're a subscriber for tuning in to all the silliness and following along as I go on this journey. And I hope in some small way maybe you've learned something, and I've helped you out a little bit, or at least entertained you, which is the goal for any YouTuber, to either entertain you or inform you. And I hope I've done a little bit of both. And I thank you for coming along on the journey. It's been a blast. 2019 has been very good, and very much looking forward to 2020 and what this coming year has to bring, and I hope you are too. Leave your comment below. What is one of your goals for your thrifting and reselling in the year 2020? And we're going to hold you to it. We're going to come back to this video and the comments below at the end of 2020, and we'll see how everybody did. No, I'm just kidding. I won't call you to task because I'll probably have to call myself to task as well. We'll see. Anyhow, it's been a great year. Thank you very much for dropping by. Please hit the like button if you did like the video, because it does give the video traction for other people looking for these kinds of things. And if you want to follow along on this entire journey, if you're not already a subscriber, please hit the subscribe button below and then hit the bell to be notified every time a new video is uploaded. Thanks for dropping by. I will see you next year on another episode of M Cubed. Cheers.